Some of the most fascinating active nutrition brand portfolios are no longer controlled by legacy supplement companies, and that might be shocking to learn, so let's talk about it again. And I'm going to assume that most of my avid followers will recognize the again comment as me hearkening back to the Keurig Dr. Pepper Active Nutrition brand portfolio deep dive that I uploaded like 2 to 3 months ago. It's a great piece of content that quickly became popular. So maybe check that out if you are interested in current happenings and the future outlook of active nutrition brands like Ghost, C4, Electrolyte, and or Bloom Nutrition. But while these big CPG portfolio dissection type content pieces most likely won't become some type of official series, at least I'm not planning it currently, I will be following a comparable storytelling arc. When you think about PepsiCo, your brain either beelines to carbonated soft drinks and their flagship Pepsi brand, or packaged foods and their significant market share across salty snack categories. But how about what I'd like to call the three-headed categorical monster of active nutrition? Or maybe it's time to expand my phrase slightly, especially after PepsiCo CEO stated last week within its third quarter earnings call that fiber will be the next protein. However, while PepsiCo leadership now talks wildly about elevating its innovation agenda with core brands by capturing new occasions through added functional benefits, categorical offerings outside of hydration, so energy, protein, and fiber, were mostly strategic afterthoughts only a handful of years ago. And while most CPG industry pundits, especially after hearing details about soon to be introduced functional product offerings last week, are just now starting to talk about PepsiCo's strategic shift, I stated this in a content piece from over 3 years ago. All I know is that I'm suddenly paying more attention to PepsiCo in terms of its sports and active nutrition news than I have kind of previously ever, or maybe in the last few years combined. And I totally get it. If your primary indicator for strategic change was looking for broad-based portfolio product innovation, you'd likely believe PepsiCo leadership was all talk in 2022 when expressing optimism about the runway for growth within the active nutrition category. Outside of Gatorade deepening its fuel solutions for athletes and simultaneously broadening into more active lifestyles, PepsiCo could have just looked like another big CPG player plagued with a mix of poor portfolio management, missed opportunities, and persistent share loss. In fact, you'd only understand where it was heading due to PepsiCo leadership leaving breadcrumb after breadcrumb throughout quarterly earnings statements and investment conference presentations regarding how the $200 billion market cap size CPG conglomerate would transform its products to better reach shifting consumer preferences as more moved closer towards this four-way intersection of taste, convenience, nutrition, and functionality. However, heading into 2025, when the business landscape seemed cloudier than ever, as massive drivers of demand like GLP-1 weight loss second-order effects became more pronounced and the MAHA movement gained political power, PepsiCo appeared to build further conviction surrounding its long-awaited strategic game plan. Suddenly, all those nice, if possible, innovation cycles focused on reimagining products quickly turned into a cascade of must-have strategic actions. Next, let's examine through the lens of hydration, energy, protein, and fiber why I believe PepsiCo contains one of the most fascinating active nutrition brand portfolios. And I should probably preface this next section by saying, while PepsiCo is also making huge nutrition adjustments across its entire portfolio, I'll only sporadically mention the most relevant changes that are adjacent and or congruent to adding functionality in products. But let's start with hydration, which includes Gatorade, the third largest liquid refreshment beverage brand in the US market. Moreover, as I mentioned earlier, to better serve the expanding hydration market, the list of brand and line extensions has grown, whether that's Gatorlyte for serious athletes or Gatorade Fit for everyday active individuals. Furthermore, PepsiCo has accelerated its efforts beyond the bottle in active nutrition with tablets and powdered stick packs under the Gatorade and Propel brands. Additionally, Gatorade is one of the only functional beverage brands, regardless of product category, that has invested in customization strategies beyond simply adding product variations to increase consumer optionality. In fact, Gatorade could unlock true personalization by continuing to push its GX ecosystem even further, which now includes smart water bottles and sweat patches, along with a new AI-enabled app providing users with personalized hydration advice based on 40 years of Gatorade Sports Science Institute expertise. Lastly, and I'd hate to end on a poke the bear type comment because I really do respect and enjoy the brand, but Gatorade is launching a product even the MAHA moms likely didn't ask for. In April 2025, a month before the MAHA report was released, PepsiCo revealed plans to expedite the elimination of synthetic dyes with the goal of phasing them out completely by the end of 2026. And while more than 60% of the PepsiCo product portfolio was already free of artificial dyes, one of the biggest removal efforts would revolve around the Gatorade brand. So in response, PepsiCo just unveiled Gatorade Lower Sugar with no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors. And I understand PepsiCo is creating an additive-free, natural version of Gatorade to retain consumers who might otherwise experiment with natural alternatives, but who trust Gatorade far more than the emerging ones to deliver on a great taste experience. However, I'm still not a fan of this extension strategy idea, at least right now as it currently sits, largely because Gatorade Lower Sugar is probably some type of midpoint testing stage of a larger innovation cycle, details of which I'm not privy to, that builds a 99.9% confidence level type of conviction around this formulation before swapping the entire legacy artificially flavored, full sugar, and neon colored Gatorade products over completely. But while I could keep going with this cynical attitude detailing the recent PepsiCo Energy categorical struggles that span a botched distribution deal with Bang Energy to a few Mountain Dew branded energy drink blunders, let's shift the vibes around as everything changed in August 2022 when PepsiCo signed a long-term strategic partnership with Celsius Holdings. Obviously, a lot happened surrounding that deal, with Celsius becoming the third largest energy drink brand in the US market and becoming the first brand outside of Red Bull or Monster Energy to hold a double-digit market share in more than a decade. But after Celsius Holdings acquired Alani Nu earlier this year, PepsiCo decided to strengthen its long-term strategic partnership in August 2025. If you aren't familiar, PepsiCo transferred ownership of the Rockstar Energy brand to Celsius Holdings. Consequently, Celsius Holdings became the strategic energy drink captain for PepsiCo, which essentially means it will drive the strategic direction of a unified energy portfolio through seamless planogram design, SKU prioritization, and promotional execution. In return, PepsiCo, also providing substantial cash considerations, obviously increased its equity stake in Celsius Holdings, but will now lead distribution for all three Celsius Holdings energy brands, allowing for further distribution scale and streamlined commercial strategy. With energy drinks becoming status symbols or basically aspirational mixtures representing lifestyle, taste, and identity by association, it has become arguably the most important beverage category. Essentially, the shift to zero sugar functional energy drinks is fueling one of the fastest growing segments in beverage, and Celsius Holdings is defining it. And bringing its respective expertise together with Celsius Holdings, PepsiCo now controls around $5 billion of categorical retail sales, which is about 1/5 of the US energy drinks market. But since energy drinks have been marketed as lifestyle brands that offer beverages with a functional benefit, authenticity matters a lot, especially as younger, more diverse consumers are now leading the categorical growth. So for Celsius Holdings brand portfolio to meaningfully expand its household penetration, it must stay culturally relevant with the next generation of modern energy drinkers and ensure it's effectively executing across its more people in more places, more often strategic framework. And then a few quick points outside of the Celsius Holdings partnership regarding the energy benefit. PepsiCo just announced that it plans to basically utilize tea as the vessel that provides more functionality to its Pure Leaf brand, starting with a mental focus product variation. Also, as a sort of bridge into the final two functional benefit areas, PepsiCo, which has distributed Starbucks RTD beverages through a joint venture since 1994, is launching a new GLP-1 patient-friendly Starbucks coffee and protein lineup that features not only low sugar and added vitamins and minerals, but 22 grams of complete protein and 5 grams of prebiotic fiber. But since PepsiCo leadership believes fiber will be the next protein, let's examine that statement's foundational source category initially. And I'm definitely risking that I'll sound like a broken record here, but American consumers can't seem to get enough protein. In addition to the ubiquitous protein bars, protein powders, and protein beverages, more grams of protein seem to be making its way into anything and everything that's quick, easy, and accessible, thus penetrating more diverse food and beverage categories. And this makes sense, especially when you consider that protein has become a kind of holy water that instantly anoints any food or beverage with a health halo. While the focus on higher protein diets started in those shadowy niches of sports nutrition and weight management, there's now increasingly diverse consumer cohorts that possess a heightened awareness around the value of this essential macronutrient, thus making protein a battleground category as it proliferates across the entire grocery store. While PepsiCo launched its first Gatorade product with added protein 15 years ago and acquired Cytosport, the maker of Muscle Milk, in 2019, it wants to redefine the protein conversation by recently coming up with new formulas in both those brands that prominently feature the popular macronutrient. As predicted on my Twitter a few months ago, the struggling Muscle Milk brand looked at the right internal or external consumer insights a bit late and reformatted into actual muscle milk, aka utilizing ultra-filtered milk as the base liquid. Additionally, these new muscle milk protein beverages were formulated with no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or added colors. And then Propel Clear Protein Water, which combines whey protein, fiber, and electrolytes, will be introduced, I believe, initially in powdered stick packs, thus better aligning the Gatorade subline with the trend. Finally, with something like 3/4 of US adults wanting to increase their protein intake, all sides of the PepsiCo brand portfolio are hoping to become more ingrained into that growing market opportunity. So while most are focused on how Frito-Lay snack brands like Lay's and Tostitos are exploring new oils and removing artificial flavors, the wildest new product announcement involved the Doritos brand. Yes, PepsiCo announced it would be adding protein to more Quaker, Sun Chips, Popcorners, and Smartfood products, but Doritos protein is crazy, or maybe not, based on something I mentioned in a July 2025 content piece. That doesn't mean I wouldn't like to see a big CPG name like PepsiCo acquire Simply Good Foods. Yes, I know PepsiCo just acquired Siete Foods and Poppi, giving them a leverage ratio above historical average. But looking past that, I think it's a great fit. It's hard to argue that PepsiCo wouldn't be the ideal partner to scale Quest salty snacks into a multi-billion-dollar product segment. And then for the final functional benefit, along with those before mentioned new products with added fiber, PepsiCo recently made 2 massive decisions, which recently showed how serious it is about the fiber will be the next protein CEO statement. The first was acquiring the prebiotic soda brand Poppi for nearly $2 billion earlier this year. The modern soda category continues to resonate well with consumers and is gaining market share within the carbonated soft drinks category. In fact, Poppi, despite not being fully integrated into the PepsiCo DSD system until early September, has continued to deliver strong results with 50% year-over-year growth and retail sales in the first 8-ish months totaling around $525 million. But maybe an even bigger, or at least more shocking decision involved PepsiCo moving its flagship beverage brand back towards its forgotten gut health origins. If you didn't know, Brad's drink, or what we now know as Pepsi, was originally sold as a digestive tonic in drugstore soda fountains. So perhaps Pepsi Prebiotic, which delivers the classic Pepsi taste with added prebiotics, is simply a nostalgic remix of the 1890s tonic that was utilized for handling gas, constipation, and heartburn. However, just to quickly close this content out, PepsiCo is a world-class company with iconic brands, and its willingness to reinvent those brands against the backdrop of shifting consumer habits and preferences is venerable. If PepsiCo keeps this disrupt ourselves mindset going, I believe it's well positioned to continue winning in the important active nutrition space. But I hope you enjoyed the first principles thinking that went into my latest YouTube video. If you did, can you do me a favor by hitting that like button? That quick and free action helps YouTube know my content is worth spreading to more people. Also, we're getting really close to reaching my next subscriber goal, and it would be great if you join me on this journey. But to do that, we need to fix the fact that slightly more than 3/4 of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, and that hurts my feelings. Regardless, I want to thank you for giving me some of your attention and time, and I'll see you on the next one.